Jake Knapp is the inventor of the design sprint and the New York Times bestselling author of the book Sprint. He's also the co-founder of Character, a venture fund for early-stage startups. How and why did you start using Miro?
I came from this position of thinking, I don't want to be doing stuff online, to thinking now when I do a sprint in person with a company, it's like, we're going to use Miro, even though we're all in the same room, because that's a better way for us to get this work done. As an investor, we're basically investing in their ability to solve problems. We're saying, we think this group of people is going to be able to solve a problem in a really great way and create value by doing it. And actually, you need to give people the tools that can help them make decisions, help them collaborate, help them visualize and see things in a different way. And Miro does all those things. So to me, at least as an investor, I'm thinking, give the team the tools that are going to help them think, that are going to make the most, brighten their skills as smart folks. And Miro is at the top of that list.
At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.
The top 60 Star Trek podcasts you must follow in 2020. And guess who's on the list at number 44?
Anyone? Oh, 44?
Yeah.
Is it ranked or is it just random?
Shut up.
I'm just happy to be on the list.
Exactly. Hello. Welcome to this podcast. This is episode 52. I'm Tim Mitra, and I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined once again by Jonathan Kuline in Mr. Mississauga.
Hello there.
We also have Jaime Lopez Jr. in the, is it the SARS capital of the world or United States? What are we calling that one?
I don't know what they
Seattle,
call this
Washington.
one. There was SARS and MERS. I don't know what this one's called.
Yeah, it's something, whatever. Maybe you're in the place that's all infected and the zombies are walking around, right, Jaime?
Ground zero in the US of A, apparently.
Now you say, how's it going?
Not too good. I guess folks like to hear how's it going. But yeah, I'm actually...
how's it going, Jaime?
I'm actually a little sick myself, so irrationally concerned about the symptoms don't match up. So I'm sure it's just a normal cold.
Yeah, it's a good thing it's a half continent away from us right now. Hopefully things don't transmit through the wires.
I'm sure that's what Jaime thought last week when it was a half a planet away.
Yeah, well, he's closer to China than we are, so
like the entire Pacific Ocean and a lot of real estate after that.
That's true. People get off planes and they walk around and stuff, So anyway, looks like we have some fact check right off the top there, Jonathan, I guess.
Yeah, just one quick one. So I don't know where I got this erroneous number, but I think in our last episode when we were talking about the Clone Wars Season 7, which is going to start in February on Disney+, I think I had said it was the 17th of February. It's not. Apparently it's on the 21st of February is when it's being airing.
Which is not even 7 days later, so...
Yeah, I don't know where I got the erroneous information the first time, but I'll go and yell at the erroneous people for that.
Alrighty. All right, let's dig in some headlines. You got lots for us today.
Yeah, headlines. Lots of good stuff for us to chew on here. So first thing I've got is that news came out last week that in spite of one very popular season on HBO, apparently the Watchmen series is over. It's a story that made the rounds last week that apparently the creator of the show, Damon Lindelof, doesn't have anything that he wants to say for his second season. He feels like he said it all in season 1, and HBO said they don't want to go forward without him, so apparently the show is effectively dead.
Wow.
Strange outcome from a show that was lauded as one of the better ones from last year.
Well, I have no opinion because I didn't watch it yet, so how about you, Jaime?
I haven't seen it yet either, and I was kind of wondering if it ends on a cliffhanger or if it wraps up pretty nicely.
It does end on a cliffhanger.
Speaking speaking of cliffhangers, I hear that Expanse is back somehow, right?
It's on Amazon, isn't it?
Is it like they've done like another season and things like that?
Yeah, I think Amazon picked it up and did another season.
Oh, cool. Well, there is hope for Dark Matter after all, except for the fact that half the actors have gone off to do other things.
Yeah, and they sold off all the prop.
That's true. Yeah, minor detail.
Yeah. Our next bit of news, good one for all of us, I think. Jodi Whittaker has revealed that she is planning on staying on for at least one more season as the Doctor. Mm-hmm. I don't think I was expecting her to go anytime soon, but it is nice to have those kinds of things confirmed. She's obviously just finished filming her second season. And the expectation, I think now, is that we expect Doctors to last for years unless they really, really hate their jobs or are reviled or something. I don't know. We've only had one Doctor who did a sort of one and done, right? In the last, since the reboot.
Yeah, Eccleston, right? But did David Tennant do only 3 years?
He did 3 or 4. Let's see. He was 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think. Maybe. I'll look that one up. That'll be a good fact check for next week. But yeah, again, I think the expectation was that we were going to get Jodi Whittaker for 3 seasons.
All the are shaking their fists at us right now.
I know. Calm down and have another...
It's just a TV show. Oh, no.
Whoa, hey. Let's
fighting words.
Let's not throw stones in this room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's good news. I mean, to me, I don't know. I know we're only like, what are we, like 3-4 episodes into the new season? I don't feel that Jodi Whittaker has really, I mean, she's really good. I like her as a Doctor, but I don't think she's really sort of owned the role yet, you know? Like, she's believable as a Doctor, right? But, you know, every Doctor kind of puts their own stamp on it, right?
Yeah.
Even Eccleston, for that matter, right? Did in the 1 year did the same thing. But yeah, Jaime, you know, of course, you're the newbie here in this room on this conversation, so you wouldn't really sort of get what I'm going with this. But I think John does. Like the first season, everybody's kind of like, I don't know about this new guy or gal, right? And by the second or third season, you're like, okay, yeah. And then by the time they go to regenerate, you're like, no, it's too soon, right?
Yeah, I must admit, I was not huge on Peter Capaldi. I found, you know, I enjoyed some of the episodes, and I don't think it was entirely his fault. I think it was just time for some turnover, not just of him, but of the writers and everything else. But I really enjoyed her last year. I think my philosophy has been, especially in this newer era of the show, is that the Doctor's really only as good as the companions. And that's true. I kind of wax and wane on the new companions. Sometimes I enjoy, and sometimes I'm like, there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of people and different dynamics, and I'm still not 100% sold on that gang as the en masse large group of hangers-on. But I have enjoyed her. I think I really enjoy her sort of, she has a little bit more of that Matt Smith silliness, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, so, okay, huge spoiler for people who haven't seen this season yet, and I assume, Jaime, you're caught up to a certain extent?
I think. What was the gist of the most recent episode?
It was Tesla.
Oh, yeah, okay, then I'm caught up then.
Edison. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think of the new Master? And do we need a new Master?
You always need a new Master. Well, I mean, again, I really liked Missy, but...
Missy was my favorite, for sure.
But the guy's, I mean, he's having a great time. Like, he's just devouring the scenery around him. He's fantastic. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, okay. I mean, John Sim, when he was the Master, I did not like him as the Master, right? I mean, I like the actor. I've seen him he's like in, you know, Is There Life on Mars and all that kind of stuff. And he was great in that. He's sort of a Martin, who's the guy who plays, he played The Hobbit. He played in Office.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, he's sort of that kind of style of English dude, you know, as a regular actor. But he was particularly nasty as the Master. But I never liked the Masters in the 70s and 80s. I thought they were just dumb. But Missy really owned it, right? You know, that's what I mean about owning the role, right? Like sort of inhabiting it and unquestionably being, you know, the villain. You know, so I don't know. This guy, he just sort of seemed a little bit too smarmy for me.
Yeah, but he is. I mean, he's, you know, he is a little bit more of a throwback, sort of the, you know, look into the camera and cackle wildly kind of. You know, it does have a sort of pitch of the camp to it, which is kind of fun.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
All right, a little more news for us. A couple casting things. Rosario Dawson has been announced is going to star in a adaptation of the comic book DMZ, which is going to be on HBO, and it's going to be the showrunner is Ava DuVernay. So this is good for all kinds of reasons. One, it's a really, really interesting and what will no doubt be a really timely series for HBO. The premise is that there has been a second civil war in the United States, and the DMZ is New York City.
Okay.
It's a fantastic comic book. It came out probably just a bit over a decade ago from DC Comics Vertigo line. Really, really good. Really, really good book. And as is the sort of long overdue trend on these things, the character was a male in the book, not being played by a female, which is great. I'm really cool. Really excited to see how cool this series could be, because I really like Rosario, and I have never seen her anything I didn't enjoy. And HBO, to have that series brought to life there is fantastic.
Cool. Did you ever see that show? There was a show a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was on for 2 seasons, where the premise was that all of the electrical power in the world, including the United States, just goes away. Like it's like somebody drops a big giant EMP and destroys everything, right? And then people have to survive, and they go back to sort of the Civil War American style of governance, and there's a rebellion, and there's leaders, and it's very smart. It's kind of like The Walking Dead without zombies,
Yeah. It rings a bell. There was one in the 90s too. Dark Angel did that, right? That was the James Cameron series with Jessica Alba, where it was Seattle, right? Seattle got EMP'd and lost all its electrical stuff, and sort of is now this black zone.
Right.
Yeah. So again, I think it's a pretty appropriate trope. Yeah. Again, not to scare anybody down there, Jaime, but we've just been waiting for you all to start civil war between yourselves again, anyways.
Yeah, but it's only going to spill over to us anyway.
No. We're building that wall, right? I mean,
Trump is paying for it, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're building the wall. Unfortunately, we're building it out of snow, so it'll only really be lasting for the short term.
Yeah, for sure. We're building it out of Canadian donuts is what we're doing.
And we're going to guard it with hockey sticks.
Yes. By the way, Jaime, speaking of Canadian donuts, I don't know if you heard, but this is like, it must have been a really, really, really slow news day in Canada. Like, a lot of people were upset that they were even raising this issue. But where was it that Trudeau was? In Winnipeg?
Oh,
yeah. Story, John?
Yeah.
So he was in Winnipeg, and they were having some sort of liberal caucus or something like that, and he decided to go and buy several dozen boxes of donuts, which is what you do here in Canada, right? When you want to go visit somebody, whatever, you bring a box of donuts, usually from a particular franchise, right? But in this case, he went to a local bakery and got these donuts made up, right? And not the entire, but a large population of Canada blew up because he didn't go to Tim Hortons and get the donuts. And his point was, Tim Hortons is not a Canadian company.
Not anymore,
right? So there was a big, brouhaha on all the socials about, the fact that, and it was on the news. It was like, in all the newspapers, and then half of us were going, how is this news? And again, pointing out that, the buffoons out there, because we do have buffoons here in Canada that believe that, you should buy Canadian, you should buy Tim Hortons, not realizing that it's actually owned by Wendy's or whatever, reverse owned by Wendy's or something. Anyway, enough about that.
That's a weird one to me, because I would have guessed that the local bakery is probably Canadian. And I mean, buying Tim Hortons would be like rushing into McDonald's as in the American side versus going to some, diner, drive-in or dive or some other sort of Americana thing. So it seems like there's a very different take on it over there.
But I mean, that's the thing is Tim Hortons is so ingrained in Canadian consciousness that everybody forgets that it's American, right? In fact, I forget it's American until somebody goes, "Hey, how come you bought the donuts there?" Because people, it's like the go-to, it's like, people go to Tim Hortons and, if they want to bring donuts for the people at work, they go to Tim Hortons. It's just something people do, right? But without even thinking, it's not Canadian, right? Anyway.
Well, apparently, I just looked this up. Apparently, I remembered they got sold not that long ago. They got sold a few years ago. They
Brazilian or something.
Well, no, they were bought by Wendy's. You're right. Wendy's owned them for a number of years. They got sold to Restaurant Brands, and Restaurant Brands is actually a Canadian holding company.
Oh,
but
is it? Okay.
It's basically it's Burger King. So,
yeah. Burger King owns Wendy's?
Yeah. No, Burger King owns Tim Hortons. They bought the Tim Hortons.
Oh, so Tim Hortons and Wendy's are not together anymore?
I guess that must be I don't know, because of their partnership with Yum Brands. I don't know. There's a whole thing here.
Yeah. What's odd about that to us, Jaime, is that in a lot of places there was a Wendy's and a Tim Hortons in the same building, because during the time they were together, they went around and made double restaurants.
This one corporation now owns Burger King, Tim Hortons, and Popeyes, with a gross total assets of $20 billion.
Wow. And Canadian.
It says here that they are... Burger King is still headquartered in the United States, so is Popeyes, but the company itself is located in Toronto.
Right.
And that was a weird digression for us, but anyways.
Jaime's fascinated with Tim Hortons. I don't know.
There you go. All right.
And hockey.
Speaking of none of those things at all, Oscar Isaacs, our favorite Poe Dameron, is going to star in an adaptation of Ex Machina. Now, you're asking yourself, wait a minute, wasn't he in Ex Machina? Yes, he was. Ex Machina was a popular, bit of a cult comic book series, again from Vertigo in DC's Vertigo imprint, about a man who finds a super suit, gets some special abilities, and prevents the second tower from being destroyed in 9/11, and gets elected mayor of New York. Bit of a weird book. Really, really interesting. Very, very much worth a watch. Apparently, they're looking at doing a feature film version of this. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how it turns out, because Oscar Isaacs is a great actor, and I think he could have the gravitas to make something that is potentially kind of kitschy. And maybe I'll let Jaime weigh in on that one. I think that could work. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he's got a range, because it's besides the Poe Dameron role, he was also Inside Llewyn Davis, which is an interesting kind of more art house kind of film. He was Apocalypse, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the X-Men
Apocalypse,
movies. Yeah. So he's been in, and of course he was the CEO in Ex Machina, which was referenced here in the article. So he's got a range there that I don't think he's necessarily typecast to just a Star Wars role. So I don't think he's going to be necessarily like Harrison Ford breakout sort of superstar, but he's definitely not going to be like a Mark Hamill sort of stuck forever in that role, and then going into voice acting. Joker? And then going into voice acting as like an alternative, right?
What do you think is going to be the response from a larger, like a movie-going audience to something like, somebody stopped the second tower from coming down?
I think that will definitely cause a fair amount of controversy here, but it has been, what are we looking at, 19 years, so it's not going to be quite as big of a sore point. Like, there will be moviegoers who were like literally born on that day, right? They're like, they didn't grow up with it the same way that I'm sure my grandparents felt very differently about Pearl Harbor than I do. I recognize the gravity of it, but it doesn't resonate with me emotionally.
Right.
So if there's going to be a time to do it, now is probably the beginning of that time where it starts becoming socially acceptable, even though there will still be controversy with, I'm going to say older folks, but like I'm clearly in that camp, right? Where I still remember that, and I'm not that old. So it's beginning era.
Mark the date down, Tim. Today's the day that Jaime became one of us.
All right.
Another little bit of news, interesting one for us to talk about. There is a rumor from the good folks at the Hollywood Reporter that Taika Waititi, he who famously did Thor Ragnarok and most recently Jojo Rabbit, is in talks to work on a Star Wars flick. What do you guys think about the possibility of a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie?
What, like Jar Jar Rabbit?
Yeah, that's right. Jar Jar Rabbit. Well played. Well played. Yep. It could be good.
I've definitely been a fan. Thor Ragnarok, What We Do in the Shadows. I've not seen Jojo Rabbit, although I've heard good things about it. I'm pretty sort of impressed with the resume there. I don't know that a Star Wars movie would necessarily fit into the super funny haha of some of the films there, but there's clearly a range, right? Like Thor Ragnarok is funny as an example, but it's not haha the entire way, right? There's a fair amount of drama in there. So I think it might give us a more lighthearted, adventurous romp is what I would expect out of this.
So it says here that in the headline, or just below the headline, the second line, it says, following the recent installment of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, the space fantasy franchise is set to go on pause.
Yeah, we knew that.
Really?
It just means that they don't have anything slated to be in the theaters with a timeline attached to it.
Okay, because they were talking about doing Star Wars movies for the next millennia or something, like, weren't they?
Well, they talked about that initially, but then given that Solo underperformed, and then Rise of Skywalker has not been crazy gangbusters. It's certainly done well. It's already made over $1 billion worldwide, but there was a plan for them to sort of go on a hiatus, focus on the television shows on Disney Plus for the short term.
Okay, right.
And they had hired a couple of different creative teams to work on potential future series outside of the Skywalker universe, saga rather. So they had hired Rian Johnson after doing The Last Jedi. He was purportedly working on his own trilogy. They had hired Benioff and Weiss to go work on their own coming off of Game of Thrones, but apparently that has now fallen through because they just signed a contract to work with Netflix. So they're not going to be doing that. And then they also announced recently that Kevin Feige was appointed to take over the sort of overarching sort of look at this, how to rebuild this universe. So I think the idea was that we don't have anything on the actual slate right now. You're going to get more Mandalorian. You're going to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You're going to get Cassian Andor series, all on Disney Plus. And in the meantime, don't worry yourselves about what's going on in the movie theaters because we'll make you some Marvel movies.
Right. All right. Cool.
A little bit more news. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Nope.
I did. And
I watched an episode or two, yeah.
It's easier to watch now, Tim, if you're going to watch it all, than it was to get 3 episodes back to back and then wait like a month to see the 2-part finale.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess they had announced just in time with that Superman and Lois Lane, who were a portion of that story, are going to be getting their own CW show starting this fall, which is kind of cool. Tyler Hoechlin has been a fun Superman, and they've sort of taken his story and spun it a little bit, and they've got this sort of reimagined DC universe now, thanks to the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And so yeah, it'll be fun to see that be in addition to the lineup and see what they can make of it. So far, it's got one. They picked it up from pilot, so they're going to do one season, and we'll see how it goes from there. But Superman back on TV, it's kind of cool. Another little funny one. I don't know how you guys feel about this one. Hunger Games. So we've known for a while that we were going to get a new Hunger Games book. Suzanne Collins is working on that. Apparently the star of the Hunger Games prequel is going to be the president, that was played by Donald Sutherland in the films.
Yeah.
It is going to be about his sort of ascendance. So they're going to do a whole book trilogy, which I assume will be followed by a movie trilogy, all focused on the bad guy. I don't know. What do you guys think about the rise of the bad guy?
I'm kind of interested because it's
the blonde guy that was
it was the president who carried the roses around and was very Donald Sutherland was very creepy in that movie series.
Oh, he's going to be the star? What?
Well, he won't be the star. It'll be a young version of him.
Oh, I see. It looks a retelling of that. Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a prequel. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, is this like, are they going to show him as a little, yellow-haired boy who's really into like racing? I mean, it seems like
cats.
It's not unprecedented, right? To see this sort of idea of like, hey, what if like the bad guy was the main character before they were a bad guy?
Mm. Yeah, it's a strange one, and especially to go from obviously the series was lauded because of its strong female lead, and to go from that to a this sort of young, ambitious male who goes on, of course, to become this monster who creates the Hunger Games. It's strange. It's a strange choice.
All right, moving on.
Last little bit here. Not yay. Yeah, no. We lost a couple this week. Some very sad ones. The one that hits closest to home for me, and I think for you, Tim, is Terry Jones. Terry Jones, of course, one of the members of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and of course the director of Life of Brian, the co-director of Meaning of Life, the co-director of Brian's mother in Life of Brian, the co-director of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and just the writer author of so many iconic comedy sketches over the years and plays so many memorable parts. I mean, we'd known, obviously, he was suffering from a very rare form of dementia that had robbed him in the recent years of his ability to speak and write, which was tragic, and to lose him now is extremely sad. But I think we sort of knew that this was coming eventually, but still pretty devastating to hear that we lost a comedy legend like that. The other person that we lost this week was John Karlen. Tim, you probably, I don't know if Jaime, you ever watched Dark Shadows, but Dark Shadows was a pretty popular cult show. I don't know, can you be a popular cult show? Iconic cult show?
Well, it was strange. It was on it was a soap opera.
It was a soap opera, but like a vampire soap opera.
Yeah.
Of course, he played Willie Loomis, the tortured sort of manservant of the vampire Barnabas in Dark Shadows, which was, again,
did not know that,
was on for years and years and years in the 60s and 70s, and so this was and again, for other people who may not be big fans of that, he was also a prodigious character actor. He was on Cagney and Lacey and all of these other sort of shows through the 70s, 80s, playing all different parts. Very, very well known and respected character actor. As a list on here, name a show from the 70s: Rockford Files, Kojak, All in the Family, Barnaby Jones, Hill Street Blues, Police Story, Hawaii Five-0. Like, name a show, this guy was on it in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And two rough losses this week. Not good.
So I put one here. Just this sort of came up. I stumbled across this the other day. It was I don't know how I stumbled across this, actually, now that I say that, but I found a link called the Top 60 Star Trek Podcasts You Must Follow in 2020. And guess who's on the list at number 44?
Anyone? Oh, 44?
Yeah.
Is it ranked or is it just random?
Shut up.
I'm just happy to be on the list.
Exactly. Hello.
Look at these really crappy, nosebleed seats we got at the Academy Awards. I'm like, dude, we're at the Academy Awards. Look down there. Get your goggles. You see that? That's Brad Pitt down there, man.
Hey, you can see Captain Picard from up here. It's awesome.
And when we win, we have to walk all the way from the 300 level to get our prize. You know?
Yeah. Well, then, I think this is great, and I think now it gives us something to shoot for next year. 43 in 2021.
Yeah. Oh, I think we beat out at least 20 more people.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody retweeted to me that they were right behind us.
Yeah. They're coming for us. I think we should start a rivalry with one of these ones. Start a little turf war. Yeah. Get off our podcast block.
So according to this, we have 15 Facebook fans, we have 27 Twitter followers, and we have 11 in terms of domain authority, whatever that means. So yeah, we're not too shabby.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean the ones that they're ranked higher have more social followers than we do. One of them has 1,200 Facebook fans, so which is hard to get. Facebook is horrible to get any followers on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever noticed that or not, but at least, I mean, the other good point of it is it gives us some shelter from the CBS legal team, right?
We're legit. Look right there. We're legit. We're legit. These guys said so.
Yeah, but by the same token, they got other people to go fry before they come looking for us.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So
we're only 44th. Don't pick on us.
Exactly. All right. Well, shut up. Okay, so here we are. We're at the main part of the show, and I think we're just going to dive in with spoilers and everything. Of course, I mean, it was introduction episode. You're not going to spoil too much, right? That we haven't already spoiled. But we're here going to talk about the brand new, shiny, just came out today, Star Trek Picard Episode 1, Season 1, Episode 1. Let me rephrase that. Remembrance is the name of the episode. So here we are. I think we kind of, I can start off by saying that, we looked at the trailer, and we kind of figured that, okay, he's older. He's aged. Number one is his dog, and he's interacting with Data in a strange way in the trailer. So we kind of figured, well, Data's obviously in his head, and we were right about that. And so it carries on from there. And I kind of wondered, midway when there's the big disaster scene, and he wakes up and he's on the couch, I'm wondering if that was also in his head too. But I'm going to shut up now and let you guys sort of, either one of you, take on the sort of standard podcast covering of the episode with mild interjections from myself and the other person who wants to go.
I think it's Jaime's week.
Yeah, I've got some notes here where I think I can make a semblance out of this. So we start off immediately. I'd had my notes right there on the Enterprise D, which is nice. It was nice to see that in modern formats. And the aforementioned interaction with Data, and it's all weird. You're like, Data is kind of wearing the wrong outfit, right? He's wearing a First Contact movie style uniform, and there's no way he would have been wearing that on the Enterprise D. So you're immediately, if you're really into this sort of thing, you're like, well, that's weird. It doesn't fit. And of course it doesn't fit because it turns out it's all part of a dream, right? So Picard has been having these bad dreams, and in this one he's reminiscing about his time with Lieutenant Commander Data. So he wakes up at Chateau Picard now in the modern era, some 18 to 20 years after Nemesis, and he's chilling with Romulans. There's Romulans on his staff. They're making his bed and his breakfast, that sort of thing.
I do have a question before we go too far, because I kind of wondered about this. I know I've seen Nexus, I don't know how many times, but does Data actually die in Nexus?
Nemesis? Yeah.
Nemesis, yeah, because B4 is there, but and he downloads his brain into B4, tries to.
Yeah,
right?
So at the very end of Nemesis, it's basically they're on the Romulan ship. It's about to explode, and it's basically Data or Picard. There's only a chance to get one of them out using the comm badge, and so Data takes off his comm badge, puts it on Picard. Picard teleports out, and then the ship blows up with Data on board.
Right, but he could be like the Emperor. He could come back.
Jedi, you could do that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, not completely unreasonable given where things are going to go. And good thing you mentioned B4, the android sort of prototype brother to Data and Lore, because that'll become important at the very least in this episode, and my guess is possibly in future episodes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is chronologically correct, but I wrote that one of the new characters, Daj, is shown in her apartment in Boston, if not mistaken, with her boyfriend, and they get attacked by mysterious people. He gets full-on killed, and they're through a hood on her head, and we're trying to search her memories or do something. They're like, has she been activated yet? In this mysterious way that they say it, and I guess she does get activated because she just goes all kung fu on them, and
she goes John Wick on him.
Yeah.
Jason Bourne on him.
Jason Bourne or John Wick. I guess Jason Bourne, maybe Bourne Identity is probably more appropriate, so that's a good one. And she ends up having this vision, in her mind of Star Trek Picard, of Captain Picard's face. And that actually coincides quite nicely because we shift scenes again that Picard, who is a retired admiral, is being interviewed by the news agency on the 10th anniversary of the Romulan star going boom. So this is a reference back to Star Trek 2009, right, which had that happen in the Prime timeline. And apparently we find out that Admiral Picard was going to lead this rescue mission. Starfleet was uncertain about helping one of its longtime enemies. And what should happen is that the what they're calling the synthetics, so synthetic beings, androids is sort of the other term that they've used for this, right? Attacked Mars and the Utopia Planitia fleet yards, something that was referenced in one of the short treks, if anybody's seen those.
Yep.
And we learned that right after that, synthetics were banned, and the interviewer, pokes and prods and asks specifically about, hey, you knew a synthetic, right? Lieutenant Commander Data. What did you think about him? And this, understandably causes a lot of grief and dismay for Picard, and he quits the interview there. But that's where, it's being broadcast, and Daj is walking around the city or something, and she sees a screen that shows Picard's face, and she's like, oh, that's the person that I saw in my image. I also don't know if this is chronologically correct, but Picard has a dream about Commander Data painting a painting of a girl, and he goes over to the Starfleet archives over in San Francisco, goes to the quantum archives apparently, and works with a hologram, like a holographic librarian, I guess you'd call it, named Index, and identifies the painting as being from Data back in 2369, and it was titled Daughter, the painting.
And the face?
Sorry?
And the face of the woman?
And the face, what I was leading leading to here is that it looks like Daj, which is right time for us to switch over to her part of the storyline. And she's on the run. She's afraid to go back to her apartment because, people just tried to kill her there. And she video conferences with her mom, quote, air quotes here, mom. We'll come back to that. And her mom's like, yeah, I'm glad you're fine. Yeah, you should go talk to this Picard dude. She's like, what are you talking about? I didn't tell you about Picard. She already met
Picard at the beginning, and she leaves him because she's afraid he's going to get attacked by them as well.
Yeah, she disappears in the night, right?
Oh, did that already happen? See, I got a gap in my notes. So they'd already met then at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for correcting me there. I probably missed it during the commercial break or something. So what else did we learn here? This is an out-of-date note here, but I noted that Daj was born in Seattle and accepted to the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa. Both of those will become important later because she does, I guess, hack her way into computer systems and locate Picard while he is in San Francisco at the Starfleet archives. And she goes to meet up with him again for this. Thank you for the second time. They get attacked by more mysterious dudes who are just teleporting in, and she has a little pew 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 time with them, beats up a fair number of them. Unfortunately, she ends up getting like acid or something on her. This part was a little confusing. I don't know if it was like a cyanide pill or what.
The dude spat on her.
Yeah, but did he spit like some sort of cyanide pill thing? Because I thought he was a Romulan. It happened so fast.
Yeah, I think he was, but I don't know if that was meant to be that. Yeah, he had some sort of thing in his mouth that he spat at her that as he was dying got her. But yeah,
and they the Romulan dude and Daj end up blowing up, and this shockwave throws Picard 20 feet or something, and he ends up waking up back at the chateau with his Romulan friends. And at this point, I was like, was that all a dream? Like, what the?
The same with I.
Main character died. Like, what?
Yeah, show's over.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on here? At this point, Picard decides to go visit Dr. Girardi over at the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa, mentioned before.
Played by Canada's own Alison Pill.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, right. Talking to her, he talks to her, the doctor, about androids. That's sort of like their specialty. And if it would be possible to make one out of flesh and blood, which gets a laugh out of her when she's like, oh, wait, you're serious? Well, come into this department here where we've basically had to shut down every sort of real bit of research because of the ban on synthetics. You can only do simulations and papers and stuff, but no actual building. Here we see that the android, the Soong type android, B4, is disassembled in a drawer. And they mentioned that even though Data had downloaded or tried to download his information into B4, most of it was lost. B4 just wasn't capable of dealing with that sort of information. But we learn that, and this is a way callback, Dr. Maddox.
Yeah.
If people don't remember, and if you're new to this whole Star Trek thing, because Picard has got a lot of people excited, Dr. Maddox, if I'm not mistaken, was from the Measure of a Man episode. Yep. It's like season 1 or 2, where the premise is Lieutenant Commander Data property of Starfleet, or is he his own self-conscious being? And they have this whole trial thing. And Dr. Maddox was on the side of like, I don't want to hurt anybody, but like, this is really cool technology. I kind of want to see if we can, dissect data and figure out how Dr. Soong created this wonderful creation. Yep. Apparently he stayed in the field because Dr. Maddox here in this show is talked about as believing they could synthesize androids from even a single positronic neuron from somebody like Data.
Dun, dun, dun.
But that such a synthesis would happen in pairs for some reason. And this is why Daj had the double circle, double rings, I'm not sure what they called them, necklace that she was wearing and that Picard had brought with him. And more dun-dun-duns happens in terms of going to the Romulan reclamation site that we see in space. So some really cool Romulan ships flying into this mysterious thing. We meet a Romulan named Narek, if I'm not mistaken, who introduces himself to Daj's twin, Asha. So they have a little bit of a thing going on there. And at the very tail end, they pan out the camera, and dun-dun-dun, they're in a reclaimed Borg cube. This Borg cube is it's basically up on blocks in this chop shop. Is sort of what it looks like to me. So that's where the episode ends.
Right. And did you know she's also wearing the same necklace?
That is true. Yes, she was wearing the same double ring necklace.
And she mentioned she has a twin sister. The other
and she
thing
mentions
too,
it was created by her father.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting too is that there are 2 paintings that Data made. One hangs in Picard's home, and one is in the archive. That's another sort of twisty, sort of plot pointy thing, right?
It hints too, because the one in the archives was completed, if I remember, and the one that is in his home is kind of incomplete, right?
Yeah, and the one in the dream painting was not done. It had no face at all. Like, had no discernible. It had a body shape, but it was no. You couldn't tell it was a person, woman, or male or female. Because that's the part that's in the trailer where Data says you can finish the painting, and Picard says I don't know how. And he says yes you do, and he hands him the brush, and that's when the dream ends, right? And he wakes up in the arms of his Romulan buddies who are his caretakers. Just as a side note here, before we go too far, I put a link in the show notes here for Get to Know the 5 of the newbies from Star Trek Picard, and of course it's got Isa Briones as Daj, which I think is going to be a different name next week because we know Daj just blew up. Alison Pill as Dr. Agnes Girardi, Santiago Cabrera as Cristobal Chris Ross. Is that the guy that Rios? Is that who we met at on the Borg ship?
No, so we've not met this character. I'm guessing it's Cristobal Rios is probably the name heritage is.
Yes.
It looks like from the preview trailer, it seemed like he's like the owner or captain of
some ship that's coming up,
of the ship that Picard is going to be on.
Right, and Michelle Hurd plays Rafi Massacre, and there's a guy named Evan Evangora who looks like somebody from Lord of the Rings. Actually,
he's even got a Lord of the Rings name, Elnor.
Yeah, Elnor.
It's a very like elf-like name. That's an interesting choice. So we've not met those latter 3 characters.
So the guy who introduced him, that's why I came to this particular page, because that guy who introduced himself to Daj's sister, Asha, you said?
I think Asha was the name I heard.
Anyway, he looked like this dude in a sort of dark Borg ship lighting kind of way.
It was very, very moodily lit, but I think the other guy was a little bit younger.
So the question I have now for you, Jaime, is: do we release the Kraken?
That went over
in other
my
words,
head.
Jonathan, what do you think?
Release the Kraken?
Yes, you're the Kraken.
Now, why did I become the Kraken? Just because I lit fire to Star Wars 2 weeks ago.
How many thumbs down does this get?
Now I'm the bad guy, you know?
I just want to know what we both missed in this show.
No, Jaime did a great job of recapping. Again, I think there was some wonderful little Easter eggs in there. Obviously, there was that nice little tie-in. So for the people that make the time to watch the short treks, there was a nice little tie-in to the Utopia Planitia attacks. We got a little callback into that. Again, the Bruce Maddox stuff. I was like, my jaw hit the floor when I heard that. I'm like, oh, get out of here! Like, that's pretty deep cuts. You got to be a pretty good. He's in one episode of TNG and he's mentioned in a second one. So you got to sort of want that one. No, I will not be crackening out on this one. I think this was great. I think it was really. I think it was kind of what I was expecting. It was a little bit of pepper of the. I think this is actually on now that you mention it. This is a perfect example of what to do in these situations versus what we got 2 weeks ago when we discussed Star Wars. Star Wars was giving you fan service by like opening your mouth and forcing stuff down your throat. This was like seasoning it in there nicely. It wasn't just like, oh my God, and here's this, and oh my God, and here's that, and oh my God, here's this. It was really very measured. And it was actually, it was more about uncovering the new than it was about, just being fan service, which I appreciate. I'm glad that it wasn't just, nods and winks. And obviously we're going to get a look, we're going to see, Will Riker, we're going to see 7 of 9, we're going to see, all these little nods to the universe as we go through this series, and years to come, because we already know there's going to be a season 2. But I think there's a lot of things to appreciate in the subtlety that they took in this first episode. It really kind of sort of takes a bit of time on some of this stuff, and it's sort of it takes the time to sort of give you a little bit of an update. It gives you that little interview section where Picard sits down with the journalist and starts talking about why he left Starfleet and what the crisis was that sort of prompted him and how we sort of got to where we are now. So we get a lot of backstory without it being beaten over the head with it.
With the it was going to go wrong because that's what they do on TV, right?
Well, because you can't put a journalist on a fictional TV show and not have them be a jackass. Like, God forbid we're represented as fair-minded, but it was, I think, pretty well measured. It was not, just fan service for fan service sake. And I guess I should have expected that, in that I can't imagine somebody of the stature of Patrick Stewart would sign on to something that was just going to be, let's put the 80-year-old man into an uncomfortable tunic for 7 episodes and make him run around the galaxy, right? Like, it had to have some gravitas, and that's how it felt.
Yeah, the fact that he couldn't run fit the character, right? Like it's not a typical thing where, oh, we have to run, and then all of a sudden, they drop in a body double and he's like running like mad,
Yeah, and I think it was really good, and I think obviously that the payoff on that comes later on when he sort of says, I've been sitting around this old chateau waiting to die, and now I've sort of found some purpose, and you can feel that sort of energy re-enter himself. You can tell from the beginning of the episode that he is sort of lost, without a purpose, that clearly the time has taken away the measure of the kind of person that he is, and you sort of see him regain that as he finds his purpose through this episode. It was again well crafted and well put together.
Yeah, but Star Trek does that well. I mean, if you look at the crappy Star Trek movies that have been out, like the Search for Spock or the fifth one there.
No, we don't talk about that one.
No, but what I mean is like not the overall story or the whole point about it is, but some of the setups they do in there, like when McCoy they show McCoy out of Starfleet, he's in a bar and he's struggling, right? He's like got this mental issue, and they use that as a setup to the fact that he's living with two chakras at that point in time, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't kind of like lay it, like it's not like so obvious that they beat you over the head with it. They kind of slowly reveal these kind of things, or even in one of my favorite Star Treks is The Undiscovered Country, where the interplay between Spock and what's her name's character? What's the
Saavik? Not Saavik. Oh, the one not Saavik.
Canada's own. Canada's own.
Oh, bother me.
Her, yeah. We'll look it up anyway. But like the interplay between them and how he has to use the mind melt to extract the information from her, and it's obviously a very difficult thing for both actors and both characters to do, right? I mean, whereas George Lucas would sort of hit you over the head with a lightsaber in that point, or put you in a pit with a Balrog, kind of thing, right? But I mean, the Star Trek does this well. They do this sort of slow, peeling back the onion kind of storytelling. I mean, some of it's downright campy, right? Like I've been watching the original series, it's kind of funny, but in how things work. But if you watch it in context of when the shows were made, they're quite interesting.
Yeah.
I was watching the Alana Troyes episode the other day where she throws a knife at William Shatner, right? And it's funny because now that it's all in high def or whatever, you can actually see the fishing line that the knife follows as it goes towards the door, right? And I rewound it. Went, wait a minute, is that fishing? Like I can literally see. They didn't like these days they would go and Photoshop all that out, right? But they left it in. It was so good. Frank Zappa would say.
It was Lieutenant Valeris, and it was
Valeris.
Yes, Valeris, and of course that was Kim Cattrall, Canadian.
Kim Cattrall, Canada's own Kim Cattrall. Yeah. But I mean, like the whole, the boots and the fact that they have these anti-gravity boots, and then when they find the people who wear the boots, they have like really, they have feet that couldn't fit in these boots, and the sort of they have the writers or the producers or whatever of Star Trek tend to be very subtle in the way that they tell you things. So like the fact that they can pull out, I mean, of course they got all this huge canon of shows, so they can pull out this character out of a really obscure episode and bring him forward, in the story point, right?
Yep.
Hopefully they're not going to dig the actor up and make him play the role again, but who knows? And it's interesting where they're going with Data. I think that Data's always been a fascinating character. Unfortunately, because of time and whatever, Data's put on a lot of weight and looks a lot older than he used to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
do androids age? I don't know.
You have to take these things with a grain of salt. I'm honestly surprised at this point that they haven't gone with a much more CGI effective look for Brent Spiner, just because of obviously age and time. You could put a lot of makeup on and a wig and eye pieces and stuff like that, but he again, he's a much older man now. Like, what are you going to do?
Well, De Niro was saying in the Irishman they did that with the characters. They put spots on their faces and had them go through actor rules out, and then went and made them look younger. I guess they did the same thing with Will Smith in the last movie that he was in just recently, where he's like plays himself.
To varying degrees of effectiveness. Although in Data's case, it actually would kind of make sense that he would look like the Uncanny Valley effect would actually be spot on. You just pretend that in the era of standard definition, you couldn't actually see the fact of like, yeah, this is like a mannequin that's talking to us, right? This is not a real living, breathing person for the character. It would arguably work pretty well as an art direction. Like, you wouldn't lose out from the some of the issues you end up with the de-aging sort of CGI.
And they didn't give away what's her name? Dara's character. How do you say her name again?
Daj.
They didn't give away Daj's character too, like in the fact that, because she looked very human, other than turning Jason Bourne in the middle of the thing there, or the fact that she can, figure out where Picard is, kind of thing, and think quickly. But when you're looking at the character, they didn't give her any like it tells. Like, again, that's when they were talking about the tells in the poker game at the beginning, right? Where Picard says your tell is that when you're trying to pretend you have a tell, but when you don't have a tell, or when you're not showing a tell, that's your tell, right? It's kind of it's not what you see, it's what you don't see, is what he's trying to say. And in the same sense that when she shows up, in the trailer, thinking about who she could possibly be in the trailer, I'm thinking she could be like, part of me thought maybe she could be related to Data, but more likely she was related to another character, maybe she was Borg or something like that, like who knew where she was going to come from, right? Now that we know she's related to Data, the fact that they didn't make her look like in any way an android, right? Other than the fact that she's very, unblemished flesh and skin and whatever, but, they didn't go out of their way to make her, like, they didn't give her yellow eyes, for instance, right?
Yeah, although we didn't know, we kind of have it on Picard say so that she was, that she's related to Data.
Yeah.
But then we sort of, I don't know, I guess it's a question of, following that line, do we think that he shared some of his research on himself with, what's his name, Dr.
Maddox?
Maddox. And then Maddox created that, so would it actually be father, relative, predecessor? Like, it's kind of unclear what the dynamic is between Data and Daj and Mr.
But just thought of another possible angle. I don't think they're going to go here, but I'm going to put it out there for you guys, right? What if Picard is so famous in this world that you could do a ton of research on him and go in, now that he's 80, and pull one over on him?
You think he's being incepted? This is all...
Or that she's not really who she says she is. She's like an actor pretending to be, you know what I mean? Like they're gaming him, because he's older and he's so clearly, like, did you not notice how quickly he accepted the fact that she's related to Data?
Well, he wants it. Like, that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be part of a ploy.
And we want that too.
Well,
right?
And it could be part of a ploy to get him out into space for something. I mean, do we take it at his word in episode 1 that what matters to him most now is protecting her sister, the potential other Data progeny?
Is that what he thinks he's doing? Like, I kind of missed that until.
Well, that's essentially what he says. Is I failed to protect Daj. Right. I have to protect her sister.
And in parallel to how he failed to protect Mars, and he failed to sort of really rescue the Romulans.
That's it. He failed to protect the Romulans, and he failed to save Data. So yeah.
Now he's got this redemption arc to work on.
Yeah.
So is this destruction of Mars? Is that a new plot point in our lore?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first time we saw that was in the final short trek, Children of Mars.
Oh, the Children of Mars, right? I just watched that the other day.
Yes. So the two little girls are sort of having this sort of rivalry as they are sort of frustrated with what's happening with their home life because their parents are working on Utopia Planitia. And
right.
Then it ends with them saying the synths have attacked. It pops up on the screen as they watch it together, and then they hold hands, and that's the end of the episode. But that attack, that's the first time we got a sense of that attack. So I think all of us sort of went to I wonder if this is going to tie into either Picard or it's going to tie into Discovery this year. And
right.
We got an answer sooner than later. Yeah.
Now we know.
Yep.
And it's sort of like what Marvel did with what's that show? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and was it Hulk or something?
The Captain America Civil War? Are you talking about season 2 of that other show?
Yeah.
It was Winter Soldier, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's Winter Soldier. That's right. Yes.
Where all of a sudden everybody, because it was the Hydra turn, right? Where everybody was, all of a sudden they were Hydra and they were like, oh crap, we're actually in Hydra.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, what do you guys think as far as, we haven't seen this part of the Star Trek universe. We haven't gone forward, as we talked about before, in 18 years. How are you guys feeling after one footprint back into this world?
It definitely wants you to watch more, especially in the stage of being able to binge things. It's kind of disappointing to have to wait a week for it, right?
It is and it isn't, though. You know what? Like, I would be frustrated if this had, like, I'm a little out.
Watch it in 4 nights, yeah.
I'm a little out on the binging thing, just because you do end up in this sort of competitive with yourself and competitive with other people and trying not to be spoiled. And there is, again, and for people like us who like to sit and talk about this stuff, there's something to be said for this era, going back to this era of, it's an appointment, you make time, you talk about it, you digest it, you focus on the next one. And it's only a week apart. It's not like, the bad old days where a TV season started in September and ended in May. Now we watch for, 10 weeks and it's over with, right?
Well, will they do this thing where they'll do like 4 or 5 episodes and then make us wait like months before they come back?
I hope not.
I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't know if there will be a weird break anywhere in there. I'm hoping. So, unlike the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that did have an awkward break over the holidays, maybe they'll skip a week somewhere. I remember Discovery doing something like that, either in season 1 or season 2. But I don't think it will be a month's sort of break.
I'm just looking up on IMDb here because they'll list the episodes, and sometimes they put the weeks that they're going to be on. Let's see.
I only see the first 4 episodes listed.
Oh no!
First 4 episodes are listed, and they are 4 weeks beginning today.
Right. Are you looking on web or on your iPad?
I am looking on the web, and first 2 episodes directed by Hanel Culpepper, second 2 episodes directed by Mr. Jonathan Frakes.
I was going to say, is he not doing this? And where is this being made, LA. Oh, LA. It's not in Toronto.
Nope. They made a point of doing this one in LA because of the actors.
Well, interesting. Yep, looking forward to it.
Definitely.
Did you guys hear about the new season of The Ready Room? Who the new host of The Ready Room is?
No.
So CBS All Access has this The Ready Room, which is their sort of after show, follow up show.
Oh yeah, they probably showed on Space TV.
And Will Wheaton is going to be the host.
Will Wheaton?
Wheaton. Yeah. Did you guys not see that one? I saw that episode.
Oh, we're missing it. It was probably on now, right? While we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, so I guess it was. It debuted during the second season of Discovery. I didn't watch it because it replaced After Trek, right?
Oh, there was a show After Trek. Another.
Yeah, so this is the like officially licensed Ready Room is their after show. They did it for that one. I didn't see that, but I saw
the
some
host of that one.
I don't know. I don't know if it was actually Will Wheaton too, but I was excited to see that he was going to get involved with this one because obviously he'll have a little more to say. But interesting,
right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's like 20-30 minutes. I think unlike the After Trek, which kind of felt to me more like just gushing about the show, there's a little bit of gushing, but it's more nuanced gushing from somebody who was actually an actor on that kind of show before. But they spend more time talking to the producers and the director of this episode, and even I think the composer of the theme of tell us what your thought process was behind this. Right? But it's kind of more behind the scenes, and then they show a little bit of a preview at the very end of the upcoming episode.
Going over to Bell 5 TV, see if I can see if it was on or we missed it or whatever.
And while you do that, I'll mention the other little bit of news that I tucked in here. So in promoting Star Trek Picard this week, Patrick Stewart went on The View, and while he was there, he took the time to on-air ask Whoopi Goldberg if she would be willing to come back and reprise her role as Guinan.
Wow.
When they do season 2, and she said yes. So
nice.
Said that she will in fact be coming back in season 2. There you go.
Back from the Nexus.
That's right.
All right.
Deep into the lore of the Elorians.
So, you got Guinan in here, and then let's go to our watch list. What have you got for us, Jonathan?
All right. So my pick this week, a fun piece of Lego that was announced this week. Lego is doing a Lego model of the International Space Station that they announced this earlier this week. And this thing is just huge. It's crazy. It's funny because, they've done obviously a few different space models over the last few years. Tim, you, I think, own a couple of those.
I do.
The Lunar Lander. They did the Saturn V. And this one is very cool. It even comes with a little scale version of the space shuttle so that you dock it. It's got a satellite to launch and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really cool, look at some space Lego. Also not crazy pricey. It's listed at $70 US, and it comes out on February 1st. It's 864 pieces. So if
it's smaller than you think it is.
It is. It's much more. It does almost feel like a model. Like it's got a stand and it's got sort of shows you the scale. There is sort of an astronaut for scale that it comes with. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. Again, obviously they didn't need to do it the size of a Star Destroyer or anything like that. But yeah, it was.
I saw it on the Lego site actually a couple of days ago.
Yeah, neat piece of Lego.
Got a hold of it.
I'm definitely going to take a look at that one.
Cool. Coolio. All right. I mean, what's on your watch list?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. So I put in scare quotes in the show notes. For those of you transporting it home, is FanFilm.
Yeah.
Called it's a YouTube link called Star Trek TNG: A Tale of Two Cities. FanFilm. Apparently, this is a recut, a safe for work recut of a porn parody. It's about 27 minutes long, and it's shockingly good given its kind of dubious origins. And they you can kind of tell where here's where space kissing time would have happened on some of the cuts, but it still holds together really well, and it actually is fairly well thought out. Like they actually had people writing this who made reasonable callbacks to other episodes. I'm not sure how to describe the synopsis without giving away too much of the story, but I guess I can talk very briefly about the basic premise because it's sort of given away in the cold open. The basic premise is that Tasha Yar, the real Tasha Yar, real Tasha Yar? Tasha Yar is back.
Like Denise Crosby, Tasha Yar?
Yeah, well, she's played by a porn actress in this.
Oh, okay.
In the circumstances, fan film here.
Right.
And they chose a dude for Picard who's actually a pretty good one. Like you could imagine this being like one of the better cosplayers at a costume convention sort of dude. He does a pretty reasonable affectation. The special effects, granted, are kind of like the very best that Adobe Premiere 6 could give you. However old that is. But the story and the attempt they make to bring in characters like Rolaren and of course the main crew is actually really well done. I think it's worth a watch.
All right, cool.
I'm advocating for safe porn.
It's like the Walmart cut of the film or the airplane entertainment system.
It's the TBS. It's the TBS version.
Yeah. It's very strange when it's like the Riker actor is just atrocious, but the one who does Data is actually pretty good. The one who does Picard, as I mentioned, is pretty good. Worf is actually a pretty good one, and Rolaren's actor is pretty good too. Like this, it was clearly they had not in a an industrial light and magic sort of budget, but they had more than like $20 too. So it was quite the treat when that came along.
Interesting. All right. I don't really have a pick. I have Don't Mess with Cats in here, but yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen that or not.
I've not seen that, nor have I seen The Witcher on Netflix that people are talking about.
Have you seen the Don't Mess with? It's actually not called Don't Mess with Cats, but the word mess I've messed with. But have you seen this, Jonathan?
No, you and I spoke about it. It's obviously it hits close to home because of its Canadian connections. But,
yes, but it's very strange. Well, it's interesting from an internet sleuthing kind of way, but yeah, it's messed up. Anyway, it's probably not appropriate for this particular podcast anyway. All right, well, I guess that's it for this week. We'll be back again after another fabulous episode of Picard, Star Trek Picard. I want to say Jean-Luc Picard, but anyway, it's just Picard. We'll be back at Chateau Picard next week, or wherever he ends up being. Just one quick comment. Did you guys notice the San Francisco Bridge, or the Golden Gate Bridge? It had no cars on it.
No, it's meant to have been shut down because you don't need cars anymore. So therefore, it's a solar...
solar panels.
Solar panels is what I thought it was too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't quite connect. I was looking at it kind of going, what the is that?
Yeah, I mean, the transporters are so much quicker and more effective. Like, you don't have to stand still.
They have the
on
flying
a pad.
buses and stuff like that, and
like the automation has made the Chief O'Briens of the world completely unnecessary. You don't need a person standing in a transporter room hoping that something needs to be transported. No, you're like, oh, I want to go to Dublin. Cool. There's the entryway that I will just walk through and instantaneously blip.
I was going to say one thing about this because clearly Chateau Picard is in France.
Yes.
And then like 5 minutes later, he's in San Francisco, and she's starting off in Boston.
Well, and then she goes to France, and then she shows up in San Francisco.
Then she's somewhere in San Francisco, presumably.
Yeah. I think we're supposed to assume that transporter technology abounds.
Yeah, it's so much better. Like they use the same exact sound, but it's like 1/10 the length of the voice of the sound clip.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get your little Presto card and you zap from one place to the other. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. All right. Anyway, that's it for another week. So Jaime, if people want to get in touch with you, where do they do that?
I'm on Twitter as @DevWithAHair.
Right. And Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram as @JPKNews.
Okay. My name is Timitra, Timmitra. On the Twitter machines where you'll find me. And until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. This is Jean-Luc Picard. Shut up, Wesley. Sorry, say again. Just the tag. Gotcha. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter @Spotcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpotcast. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/Spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
So for next time, when are you guys actually able to watch it? Because maybe we don't have to have it that late as a starting time.
Well, I mean, we didn't know about the Crave thing until today, right?
Yeah, so you were like guessing like when it was going to be specifically.
Well, we were going to watch it at 9.
We thought we were going to watch it on TV because here it's on TV, but not until 9 o'clock our time.
Yeah, 6 your time. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's going to
watch it, and
if it's going to be early, then most weeks we should be able to watch it earlier and start whenever,
like at 9 or 6 or 6:30 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that they did that great of a job explaining when the heck this thing was coming out.
No, I would say certainly not.
Because the answer really depends on like, are you American? Cool, it's on CBS All Access. And only until very recently do we find out, wait, it's not going to be at like 5 to 5:30 the way that Discovery was. It's at 12:01.
12:01, yeah, that's what I heard.
I was like, oh, that's a Pacific time, 12:01. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And then Canadians were confused, as you guys were just talking about. And then the rest of the world's like, cool, so it's on Amazon. When is it come out on Amazon? Is it also 12:01, like the Americans at CBS All Access? Or I have no idea. Like, I really feel like they should have just had like a damn web page. Like, if you're not going to have it in a singular source, you can say UTC time, everybody gets it, middle of the night or whatever. Is it the 24th for your date? Is it the 23rd for your date? Figure it out. It's on UTC.
Wait, does that mean in Britain and Australia they got to watch it before us?
I have no idea, because presumably they're not watching it on CBS All Access if they even have that service available in their country.
Well, everywhere else it's on Amazon, right?
Yeah. So
but is it on at midnight Pacific time in Amazon too? Right? I don't know.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
Hey, watch this one, guys. If you happen to be living in another country and are listening to the after show, please send us a note. We'd love to know when you're getting Star Trek Picard. See what I did right there?
With a hashtag Ask Podcast?
That's right. With a hashtag Ask.
Because otherwise we won't see it. Not that we even look for that hashtag.
Now we will.
Yeah, we can give our number one fan a job to go and look at follow that
yeah. Research project.
Yeah.
He excels at those.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that's it for another episode. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
The holidays start here at Baker's with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Baker's has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Baker's, fresh for everyone.